Hundreds of low-income families across the region could soon lose critical housing support after Newcap announced plans to shut its doors this year. The nonprofit is under scrutiny after its former CEO was placed on administrative leave and is now no longer with the agency. New at 5, Samantha Cavalli spoke with local lawmakers about what happens next and what they're calling for.
For nearly 60 years, Newcap has been advocating, believing, and achieving. But now federal filings and an independent audit are showing a whole nother side of the story. New communication from the Wisconsin Joint Legislative Audit Committee shows Newcap is expected to shut down by June 30th. But when we stopped by the Green Bay facility earlier today, the lights were on, but the doors were open, and we didn't see anyone inside. The closure comes amid allegations of misused funds and mounting financial trouble impacting everyone in the state.
One is the people who funded these programs, which are taxpayers, and there's some charitable donations involved as well. But then there's also another set of people who didn't do anything wrong, and they're the people that Newcap served.
The amount of information that's been coming out through the documents and testimony from individuals who work there now or have worked there are quite concerning.
Federal filings and an independent audit show Newcap under major strain. In 2023, it reported $19.3 million in revenue and $21.3 million in expenses, about a $2 million loss. And the 2024 audit issued a growing concern warning, citing substantial doubt Newcap can keep operating without major changes.
This is not something that anyone wanted, but ultimately there needs to be some accountability.
Representative Stephan has written a letter to Attorney General Josh Kaul asking for a full investigation into Newcap. More on that coming up later tonight at 6. Reporting in Green Bay, Samantha Cavalli, Action 2 News.